All right, good evening, folks. All right, good evening, folks out there, Telegram, YouTube, and Rumble. Facebook clearly has a problem issue. I'm not sure what the heck it is, but we just eliminated that even after a reinstall of the software and all that good fancy stuff. So, um, should be this one. Here we go. There you go, Telegram. Okay. Sorry for the delay on that. Good old technical difficulties. All I did was one thing with my software, broadcasting software, which is just a login thing. So, we're here though. Oscar, how are you, brother? Thanks for your
Doing good.
patience.
Yeah, doing good. Doing real good. Friday night, no place I'd rather be. Teaching folks, educating.
Yep. Here we are trying to educate the people, and just one of those things we actually previously discussed. This was like, I hate doing any kind of changes right before trying to go live because of that right there.
Yep. Yep.
Did not want to connect to the Facebook page. So, after all what we just tried doing, without further ado, we just said no Facebook. So, I can't say sorry to those out on Facebook because you can't see it. So, but here we are. And Oscar has put together a PowerPoint presentation based on the Citizens Manual, Citizenship Manual. I hate saying ship because that's Admiralty stuff, but there's going to be a little bit of this that I kind of disagree with some of the stuff in this manual, but this just goes to show even our military people have been taught wrong. Some of the verbiage in here is, in my mind, not correct in comparison to like law of nations, like the definition of a citizen. You know, they refer to us in here, the people, mankind, as citizens, and we are not. So, citizens are the public servants, per the law of nations. So, keep that in mind throughout this presentation. And then again, if anybody has a question regarding a particular point that is made here, and Oscar's going to go through a little bit, and then there are questions. So we're going to actually ask you folks out there questions and see if you can answer the questions. And then if you have any questions based on specifically what was just discussed, put those in the comments. I'm watching the comments. I'm going to turn this over to Oscar. Oscar's going to do the presentation, and I'm going to see if I can keep from screwing anything else up. So over to you, Oscar. Thank you, brother.
All right, great. Thank you, Kurt. So, I usually, so this presentation was originally designed for live presentations with live audience, so to speak. So, I'll just go ahead and ask you, Kurt, which one of these is bigger? Usually ask for a victim or a volunteer, but I get my V words mixed up. So, which one of these is bigger?
They actually kind of look the same, but in appearance wise, would be technically speaking, I think your left hand, the blue one.
Blue one. Okay. Well, I
But
thought you said the blue one was the right one, and it was bigger.
yeah, one looks like a 20 round magazine, the other one's a 30 round.
Yeah, yeah. Old M16.
But it's
So
the
you're right.
curvature that
Yep,
gives
that's
you
right.
the
It's
optical
curvature,
illusion.
optical illusion. So, sometimes you flip a coin when you're in the voting booth, or you close your eyes and let fate decide, right? And
Right.
some folks ask the oracle of popular social media, and the television, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, you've got the left wing and the right wing of the same bird, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody once told me it starts with S. Well, I don't know. Anyways,
But
back to
see, in
the
America, we're not supposed to have wings. We're supposed to be Americans,
right.
not Democrats and Republicans,
That's right.
because we're
So,
supposed to have a republic.
so the two choices in the ballot box are usually
Yep.
red and blue, right? Those are your two. So, uh, which one do you pick for this trick, Kirk?
What were the colors of the British again?
The red coats.
And blue coats.
Yeah, blue coats. Yeah,
That's right. I'm gonna go with blue.
blue. Okay. So, what is that? What does that say? Yeah, it may not picture it. So, it says you will choose this card. So, it was already set up, right?
Right.
Well, uh, so a good magician never shows his tricks, right? Well, I'm a
Right.
horrible magician. So either way, you were set up because inside the wallet, uh, it says here, because of your personality, you will select red. Okay, so you're
But I
set up.
chose blue.
You sure? I know, but a good magician never shows his tricks. So I'm showing you my tricks. I'm a horrible musician,
Right.
and tricks correct. Well, I'm the worst magician, like I said, and I revealed it. So so you were led down a path to give you an illusion that you have a choice, right? So I show you both outcomes. Okay, well, what we're going to reveal to you in this historical manual will help you to see the deception that is openly perpetrated on you every day. Okay, so the link Kirk put it out on all the social medias. You should be able to click your phone.
Can you send me that link again?
Oh,
As I
sure,
had to
yeah,
reboot and everything. So
that's right. Okay, let me see that
I did
one.
put it out on Telegram, but I was had to wait until we got started with the live in order to share the link.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it's up here.
Glad you still have that up. Actually, I could have just grabbed it from where I did share it.
It's still in the chat because we kept the.
Yes, I got it now.
Yep, yep.
Copy link. So right at the beginning, for those in Telegram, shared a link to this field training manual, military manual, training manual. So Telegram, you already have that. Rumble, I'm going to dump that over here into the comments.
Should look something like that when you.
There we go. And then I've got to go over to my YouTube.
It's not going to show up that well. That's the cover. Show up. So that link is to archive.org, where you can find that field training manual.
Where is my live?
Slight disclaimer. Okay. So where we were, where we are, and where we're going. So my name's Oscar Harrell. I'm a educator here in Missouri, and I was in the Marine Corps. I worked on military aircraft. Uh, and when I got out of the Marine Corps, very familiar with technical manuals. This is an Army manual. Uh, can't knock it too much, having be a Army manual. But hey, we've got math for Marines too. Okay, so it's got pictures of hands and toes to count to 20. Just kidding. But anyway, so I was in the Marine Corps and got out in 2004, and started working for a local military contractor, working on spears for all intents purposes. So how to so electrician, mechanic, part-time mechanic, and inspector. And I've worked on various different spears throughout my career. About 4 years ago, I had the opportunity to be a instructor on how to build and create spears and maintain them. And that loved it. I could hit so many targets and teach people how to do things correctly the way that I know how to. And that evolved into this past year working on a team, being selected to go to a team that I'm currently on. And I get to tell everybody I'm a mechanic that's got a really long screwdriver. And I say that because I get to work at home. It's awesome. But I create courseware. I create learning solutions now for maintainers. And so I use them in the military. I used these military documentation the whole time I've had my career here, and now I create the learning solutions as well. So I'm very familiar with field training manuals and guides, and I think the first time I saw this manual, I was blown away and couldn't put it down. Read it cover to cover. Jason Jones on his Hardline went through and read the whole thing. You can find it on his Hardline podcast, and I think I listened through that about 5 to 10 times, all the way through 17 versions of it, or 17 chapters.
And he's on Podbean, right?
Podbean, correct.
Yep.
Yeah, find him on Podbean, and just listened to it and read the manual and said, "Hey, no one's even teaching on this, and this is a guide. This is a field training manual, and on Citizenry or Citizenship, and I'm going to go through and talk a little bit more about it. But this is a high level overview of it. I'm not going to sit here and read everything verbatim, but just give you a little background on the manual and go through some of the main points of each of the lessons that I feel are important. So this is a high level overview of the manual. It's broken into 3 parts. The introduction, which this is an instructor manual. So the instructor manual form has the preparatory things that the instructor would need to know to how to deploy it and how to utilize it in the situation, in the event, or whatever it takes. So the intro, the lessons themselves, and then the Constitution is at the end. And Harry Atwood is the author, and he gives a great preface to the Constitution. It will make your hair stand up on end, make your blood boil, and get you motivated to read the Constitution, especially, and any other documentation that's associated with it. The original manual uses the vernacular of the 1920s. There are many places where the original author, Harry Atwood, all too painfully tells it like it was in 1928. The American history reference he uses were published around 1890.
Hmm.
Many enemies of the Republic at that time are considered friends today, but many are still enemies. A person's color isn't important to Atwood, and ethnicity is not mentioned. Atwood supported all men's rights, regardless of color, and mainly focused on racial differences. He believes the American industry's business practices were the main reason the black slave remained in bondage for so long. And in the 19th century, in America's minds, the American Indian was considered the major obstacle in restricting the country's full colonization. These things distract from the core subject of citizenship in the greater United States history. It's an unfortunate reality of those times. And I'd like to say no one uses the word Indian to describe Native Americans anymore, but that would not be true. Even the United States government today uses Indian in legal actions. And it's important. The important points to glean from this document are those discussing the American colonists, the federal government's unique history, and how the citizen can continue to make the United States the best place to live in the world. So it may have been a long time since you've read a good history of our country. This is a fascinating American story presented here, along with the exceptional tools to add to your educational repertoire. This specific document, the Field Training Manual 2000-25, was placed in a requisition to the Department of Defense, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Judge Advocate General, and delivered to President Trump. This requisition came from Michigan General Assembly. President Trump received it at his desk less than 12 hours from transfer, June 2020. President Donald J. Trump proclaimed September 17th, 2020 as Constitution Day and Citizenship Day. The president also designated September 17th through September 23rd, 2020 as Constitutional Week. This book can help you better understand our past, help support our present, and prepare for a better future. It's interesting to note that there have been 7 attempts to stop Americans from reassembling original jurisdiction. And I'm going to go through those. Field Training Manual 2008, in 1928, Field Training Manual 2000-25 was issued on how to return to the public from a democracy. I'm going to go a little bit further in detail in that in the preface. Attempt number 1 in 1932, Field Training Manual 2000-25 was ordered destroyed for political reasons that we'll touch on later. In between attempt number 1 and attempt number 2, General MacArthur trained special forces with information from Field Training Manual 2000-25. Creates the Restore America Plan, Project Blue Book, not the alien version. The reference is Carl Miller. I think anyone listening to this channel is very familiar with Mr. Carl Miller and his education.
Mm-hmm.
Attempt number 2, JFK killed to stop reassembly. And there could be a whole podcast or presentation on that alone. I'll jump right to attempt number 3, Ronald Reagan, assassination attempt to stop Reagan from continuing Kennedy's work. In between attempt number 3 and attempt number 4 is the Farms claims, which resulted in Nasara. Another whole documentation for a presentation. Attempt number 4, I remember where I was on this date. It's in Yuma, Arizona, at Marine Corps base, ready to come home. Didn't happen. We stayed there for a lot longer than we were supposed to. It was 9/11/2001. The attack happened the day Nasara was to go in effect. In between attempt number 4 and attempt number 5, in 2008, Obama was installed as president. Navy intelligence knew a coup was required, either direct or through the people. Those trained under MacArthur started the Michigan General Drill Assembly in 2009. Successful reassembly of Michigan with resettlement of the land and offices elected interim. Notice published, all rungs of the ladder with zero rebuttals. Obama tested Michigan September 10th, 2013, asking for permission to invade Syria. Rebuttal was issued within 48 hours. The military was rounded up and all 50 governors in 2015 and ordered the governors not to interfere with the assemblies. Trump agreed to run for president. Navy intelligence unrigged the voting machines for 2016, and Russia was blamed. Russia.
Imagine that. Scapegoat. Because
Yeah.
that's always been our go-to bad guys, right?
Yep. That's right. Attempt number 5, Anna von Reitz, agent of the Vatican, gets involved and disrupts the assembly of the states following the Michigan model. Tip number 6, COVID pandemic is used to stop reassembly with lockdowns. Didn't work. That's when a lot of people woke up. Tip number 7, David Straight and the status correction, removing people from the original jurisdiction to a foreign status, so those people cannot get involved with reassembly, as only the lawful people can. So who likes to have fun? Kirk, do you like to have fun?
Only on Fridays.
Only on Friday. Okay. Well, I do too. But being an adult educator, my fun and your fun might differ slightly. So
I know, right? Turning some wrenches on a car is fun to us, where people think that's more like work.
Right. So my fun is a pop quiz. All right.
All right, here we go, folks.
So obviously this was designed for in person, but we'll give it a try. This is more for me to gauge your knowledge. Okay, civics knowledge. So this is Kirk's Law Corner. So I'm expecting the A team to show up. Okay.
Testicle, 1, 2.
Yeah. So all of this is from the field training manual and might slightly differ from today. So just keep that in mind as well. So 1928. All right. Who has the delegated power to grant reprieves and pardons?
Yeah, I wish I had that little music there to cue that up.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see some comments out here.
Oh yeah,
I got one.
Oh yeah. JK got there. Got a little something there.
Anybody on YouTube or Rumble want to attempt to answer that before I do?
JK said there it goes.
So it would be
president. Very good.
The governor or the president.
Yeah, I need to make that change.
It's the head of the executive of either state or federal.
Right.
So governor or president.
Who has the delegated power to regulate commerce?
Ooh. What kind of commerce?
Oh yeah, I forgot to. We talked about this too. Shoot. Yeah, that's true.
So, technically speaking, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 is to regulate foreign commerce, which is also Federalist 45. Technically speaking, the only power to regulate commerce was delegated to regulate foreign commerce, not interstate, and most certainly not private. We were supposed to have a very, very limited government.
So 1928.
That would be Congress.
Yeah. Which branch is charged with strictly adhering to the Constitution? So that's the one we did. That's the one we did change. Thanks for that help on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk. I appreciate that. Iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Technically speaking, all three branches are charged with strictly adhering to the Constitution. See Article 6, Clause 3. They're all bound to support this Constitution.
Right. So 1928, according to the Field Training Manual, Supreme Court or the judiciary, as a couple people did. Yeah, Mick, yeah, but they don't. That's right. Hey. Some people also think that the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, but that's not this presentation. We'll leave that for another.
Right?
What are the two ways for naturalization under the Articles of Confederation and under the Constitution? I think I paraphrase. Yeah, I paraphrased these, so don't get too hung up in the weeds on this one.
I don't know, cross the border and apply for driver's license? That's the latest way of doing it, right?
Ugh.
Well, technically speaking, under the Articles of Confederation, you do have under the Constitution as well.
Oh yeah, JK's yeah, it's on the ball tonight.
He is. JK's a special man out there who gave up his bar card
Oh,
of 20 years
good
and
deal.
is one of my students over there on Patreon.
Excellent. So birth and oath. I paraphrased it from the manual. Yeah. And what is the attitude of the United States towards dual allegiance?
It's special ed. Hey, Diesel D's, there's another one out there. What's happening, brother? I want to say hi to Scrimshaw. He says hi out there. And of course, Jax, Mark, regular people on here for a few years. All right, so
No dual allegiance. Every alien should become a citizen in order that he or she may vote and hold office, and in all ways take an active part in developing, building, and maintaining the government, national and local, that protects them, him, she, her. And there can be no divided allegiance here. Any man who says he's an American, but something else also isn't an American at all.
Mm-hmm. And actually, on the National Immigrations Test, it specifically says that you have to give up all allegiance to anything, to everywhere.
Yeah.
You cannot have a dual allegiance.
Yeah, my wife was talking to this fella from India, and she asked him what here it was here in the United States and here in Missouri, and the guy, she said, well, how do you like India, or how do you like Missouri? How do you like the States? And he goes, I hate it. And he goes, I want to go back.
Mm.
And she's like, oh, why? He's like, well, you Americans, you have to do everything. Over there, I have servants that take out the trash and feed and make food for me. And he goes, I want to go back to that. I don't know if he was a citizen. He might have just been visiting here, but just thought I'd mention that, right? But yeah, we have to do everything ourselves, right? Including we have to do our own government. So back to the training manual. Training manual 2005 wasn't the first citizenship manual constructed by the War Department. A citizenship manual released previously in 1925 didn't meet the commander's training requirements in the field. I think from what I have researched, they basically said it was like Dick and Jane books for adults, and very cartoonish and very adolescent. I think was the term used. So in 1928, the War Department authorized a new manual to replace it in the training classes. This manual was completed in late 1928, but was not officially released until the spring of 1929. The War Department realized this improved manual would help soldiers understand Americans' true history, its early formation, and how the federal government works, enlightening enlightening the soldiers about citizenship would ensure a better citizen returning to the workplace. Non-military Americans would also enroll in the civilian training programs and benefit from those lessons. Unfortunately, in 2000, the TM 2000-25 challenged the Democrats' view of democracy, which doomed the manual to eventual recall. Powerful congressional Democrat forces waged a successful effort to eliminate it from the War Department's training program, bringing to the attention of all the DNC cadre Ross Alexander Collins, that's right, naming names, a U.S. representative and Democrat from Mississippi, first went on an extensive rant to the Congressional Record, Volume 72, Part 2, dated January 10th, 1930. He opens to the manual with "now good citizenship," air quotes.
Right.
Yeah.
Take this with a grain of salt here, folks.
Yeah, is a broad term and is apt to mean different things to different people. And then he ends his statement with, "I am disturbed by a recurring note in the official manual on citizenship, where the general staff seems so concerned about what they call enemies within the country."
Mm-hmm.
Collins, and then unquote, Collins was not the only antagonist in this attack on the manual. A nonpartisan league Republican from North Dakota, in my opinion, probably the first rhino, Senator Lynn Frazier, introduced a newspaper petition report. It was signed by 10,000 college students attempting to avoid compulsory military training. Newsflash, if you went through high school, you had compulsory military training. It was not necessarily the nail in the coffin for the manual, but drew more flies in as if the manual was excrement. Most likely unaware of the congressional critique, Atwood presumably continued presenting on the Constitution and around the country when he passed in December of 1930. So by that time, there were approximately 7,500 copies printed by the Government Printing Office, GPO. The following statement is from the House Congressional Record, Volume 80, Part 6, dated May 7th, 1936. "We militarized by Oswald Garrison Villard. For 4 years, 1928 to 1932, the Army Training Manual number 2000-25 carried this extraordinary definition of American democracy to hundreds of thousands of young Americans who were taking military instruction. Quote, democracy," he's quoting the book, or the manual, "democracy, definition, a government of the masses, authority derived through mass meeting or any other form of direct expression, results in mobocracy. Attitude towards property is communistic, negating property rights. Attitude toward law is that the will of the majority shall regulate, whether it be based upon deliberation or governed by passion, prejudice, and impulse without restraint or regard for consequences. Results in demagogism, license, agitation, discontent, anarchy. When this choice bit of," and then so he's unquoting, "when this choice bit of loyalty to our American democracy and institutions was exposed to public gaze and the press, it was promptly withdrawn intentionally. When I printed it a year ago, Secretary Dern wrote me a kindly letter asking why pick on a sinner after he has reformed. The reply, of course, is that it is an alarming state of affairs when during 4 years, some officers in the War Department can put such a rank piece of disloyal, subversive anti Americanism into a widely distributed government handbook, and that the incident must be neither overlooked nor forgotten by those who cherish their country's democratic institutions. That's done with his quote, and then back to my presentation. 5 years later, on December 7th, 1941, World War II began. Over 1 million Americans were killed or wounded.
Did you forget to change your slide here?
No,
No?
no, it's still
Okay.
at 19. Yeah, yeah. I actually didn't have a marker in there for World War II, but it goes there
Okay.
at the end. So my my question is, what if the field training manual had not been taken out of commission? What if it was expounded upon and taught in every corner of the United States, and people held to it closely? My thought, my conclusion is that World War II may not have ever occurred, potentially, um, in theory. So here's the original cover from the field training manual, taken in 1917 at the Naval Training Station in Great Lakes, Illinois. So how many seamen do you suppose are here? Any guesses?
2, 4, 6, 8.
Who do we appreciate?
That's right.
Go Navy. Yeah. Two Marines got to knock on the Navy, right?
Yep. Swabby's on the deck.
Yeah, that's right.
Damn
So,
seaman.
yeah.
Anywho,
So what do you think? 100? Yeah, maybe 1,000?
how
5,000?
about one over here? 1776.
I like that. I've had that a lot. Yeah, that would be a good number. So there's an estimated 10,000 uh, seamen here
Wow.
in this picture. So it was taken atop a 75-foot tower. So the photographer was 75 foot up in the air, and there are 500 to 600 in the flagpole and 300 in the ball.
Jeez.
The flag itself is 73 feet wide at the bottom, and then 300 feet wide at the top for comparison. So quite a drastic difference to get that optical illusion. Okay, so
Right.
who is Harry Atwood, you might ask? Uh, the report on the Committee on American Citizenship, which was presented at the meeting of the American Bar Association, boo, in Denver, Colorado, July 14th through 16th, 1926, contained the following remarkable confession. Lawyers, this is 1926, lawyers are being graduated from our law schools by the thousands who have little knowledge of the Constitution. When organizations seek a lawyer to instruct them on the Constitution, they find it nearly impossible to secure one competent. And then another comment from October 1924 from Dr. John J. Tigert, United States Commissioner of Education, made this challenging statement. I do not believe there are more than a very limited number of persons perhaps 100 who really know what is in the Constitution of the United States. So, as a young lawyer, Harry Atwood became interested, right? Young lawyer, boo. Harry Atwood became interested in the Constitution as a subject for research and interpretation. So good on him, right? The Lord guided him into that realm, which led to the honorable, in my opinion, of him giving up his law practice in Chicago in 1918. And he devoted his entire time not only to the Constitution itself, but to the vast amount of historical material that throws light on its making and its meaning. And at the time, he had spoken to hundreds of audiences in all parts of the country on the Constitution, and at the time was recognized as an outstanding authority on it, similar to your host, Kirk Pendergrass, and Chris Hall. So definitely,
Who wasn't taught the law
yeah,
based on
yeah,
our own words.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's a whole other presentation on its own, right there. So, yeah, but yeah, Chris Hall goes around and teaches on the Constitution. I said it there.
Yeah, I still think she's a good woman, and
Yeah.
she inspires a lot of people, and she tries.
Yep. Yep. So
That's more than I can say for some people out there.
that's right. So usually I have a student to read the paragraph. I'll go ahead and read it, unless Kirk, you want to. It's up to you.
First one?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. This topic here is national defense. Number 1. Under the National Defense Act, as amended in 1920, the War Department, among its many other duties, is charged with the task of recruiting and training the young men of our nation through enlistments in the regular Army, voluntary enlistment in the Reserve Officers Training Corps of high schools, colleges, universities, and in the 30-day training period in citizens' military training camps throughout the 9 corps area of United States.
Okay. Yeah. So this manual was part of that curriculum. I think it was probably rainy day, or they would go through it in one, settings as needed. The combined average yearly strength of these various units approximates some 26,000 young young men between the ages of 16 and 25.
Yeah.
This manual says it right here. The most critical period in the determination of their real value as citizens of our country, right? So the most impressionable time.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of several 16 to 25-year-olds that are still living in their parents' basement playing video games. So we need to change that by getting this manual in as many folks' hands as we can. So let me go back. So as you can see, this is the first paragraph. The manual is in paragraph form, which is good because there may have been a revision, and you can always refer to the paragraph versus the page in some instances. So just wanted to point that out, and it is good. It is good reference to go back to in paragraph form. So as I understand it, that's how law documentation is written too, in paragraph form and numbered. So and if you're following along, we're going to go to paragraph 2, page 2, and it's titled Citizenship Training. Training in citizenship is the most vital of all subjects that the nation, whose system of government, security of property, and full power to express individual initiatives are based upon the intelligence, education, and character of each individual citizen.
I'd like to reiterate that right there. the powers that we're talking about with exercise, claiming and exercising, such as all political power. We need to have people that are intelligent and are educated and are of good moral sound character, because a lot of this deals with the laws of nature, God's law. And if we don't know that basic stuff, that jurisdiction, that body of law, how are we to even to determine what's the difference between good and evil?
Right. Exactly. And that's what they don't want you to know. They want you to be confused and not know right from wrong, think that wrong is right and right is wrong.
Whatever they tell us.
They, the infamous they. Arr.
Right? What was the colors of the British again?
Yeah. It was a flag and it was pirate colored, right?
Yeah.
So moving on to the mission of this course itself, and page 5, paragraph 8. The course in citizenship is designed. So this is essentially to the instructor, right? So this course is designed to teach the fundamental principles upon which our government is founded, including an insight into the social and economical elements upon which our civilization stands. Special emphasis is laid upon the meaning of liberty as interpreted by the founders of this republic. And larger relationship of the individual citizen to others and to his government, defining loyalty and national responsibility in terms of citizenship, recognizing that intelligent and informed people is a greater asset than than are the unintelligent, uninformed, or misinformed, and that no government can exist upon a plane higher than the moral character of its people. Okay. So moving on to paragraph 9, knowledge, the safeguard of our republic. Because of the rapid increase in our population, largely made up of immigrants from all parts of the world, the tendency within the family and the school is to neglect the training of our youth and the knowledge of his government and his individual responsibility. In 1928, it was the same as it is now, only worse now. Okay, so this is a guide. Paragraph 10, character building. The ever-increasing wants as compared to the needs of humanity, the added individual burdens and problems of modern civilization, emphasizing material rather than ethical and spiritual attainment. What did Kirk just say? Are tending to break down the character of our youth by design.
Yeah, there was another part to that was discussing earlier there that James K. over here posted, was the liberty as interpreted by the founders of the republic and the larger relationship of the individual citizen to the others to his government, defining loyalty and national responsibility in terms of citizen, recognizing that an intelligent and informed people is greater asset than the unintelligent, uninformed, or misinformed, and that no government can exist upon a plane higher than the moral character of its people.
Right. The end of paragraph 8 there. Yep.
Yeah. But it's pointing out that the uninformed, the misinformed, the unintelligent.
Yep. Correct. So the mission of this course, special emphasis on the moral aspect of citizenship to build up the home discipline, reverence for religion, and respect for constituted authority, right? So how many government books out there tell you that home is where the discipline should be, and you should have reverence for religion and respect the constituted authority? Name one, please. I'll wait.
Right? Anybody?
Yeah.
Bueller?
Yeah. Yeah, Bueller. Yeah. So moving on to paragraph 11. This one's pretty, pretty good. National defense. Who would have thunk? Education and training in citizenship from a vital part of national defense. It will be the mission of this course to interpret national defense through a broad and comprehensive instruction in citizenship, stressing the responsibility of the individual citizen to become fully prepared for the defense of his country in an emergency that may arise, whether of domestic or foreign import, in peace or in war.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Now that's part of that Posse Comitatus Act is calling forth the inhabitants, because again, this is where we have to draw the clear distinction of different statuses here in America per the law of nations, as regarded as international law. Book 1, chapter 19, subsection 212 defines the citizens as a member of a civil society who is bound to support it or bound to perform certain duties and is subject to its authority. So, technically speaking, that's the public servants, whether elected or appointed into a position of public trust. They're the ones that are bound by the Constitution. And then anything that's created under the Constitution, i.e., statutes or regulations, would apply to those who bind themselves to those particular things based on subject matter jurisdiction. But fundamentally and principally, the Constitution does not apply to the people, nor does it apply to the inhabitants or free inhabitants, as the Articles of Confederation clearly lays out. The free inhabitants and the free citizens, the lowercase c, uppercase c in the English language, right? We capitalize proper nouns. So in propria persona, in their proper person, governor, president, legislator, sheriff, mayor, county commissioner. Those are the capital C citizens, where the people are more like the free citizens. And then you have the free inhabitants who are they don't even have political rights. And none of this applies to the free inhabitants. The common law applies. Common sense law applies to the free inhabitants. So want to make sure that we all know those clear distinctions, even though it may be a little misrepresented in this training manual. The Law of Nations, written by Emer D. Vattel, makes it very clear, the clear distinction between a citizen and an inhabitant. And you got vagabonds and some other terms that are in there. They're not. They're technically completely foreign. So.
Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate that clarification. So I paraphrased paragraph 15, and it's my goal for this presentation, this high-level presentation, to stimulate your critical thinking, leaving it up to you to reach your own conclusions based upon the facts and situations discussed. So moving on to paragraph 16, the plan of instruction. So as we go through this journey, pay attention to the characteristics of our country, the fundamental principles of our government, the spiritual and will to do by which it attained its present position, emphasizing the encouragement, assistance, and protection granted every individual citizen is guaranteed in our Constitution as the supreme law of the nation. Developing the idea of individual responsibility and intelligent participation in government as an economic necessity, as well as the evidence of patriotism and loyalty to our country. This manual was presented in the didactic method concerning facts of history, social changes, economic development, and basic principles of our government and they were used without discussion and without argument. special emphasis being given to the fact that the United States is a republic, not a democracy. I repeat, special emphasis being given to the fact that the United States is a republic, not a democracy. Third time for emphasis.
Yep.
The United States is a republic, not a democracy.
Well, I'll reiterate again. Our economy is capitalism, which at the root of that means we all have the right to contract our labor as we see fit. That's that part of the Constitution there, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, that talks about our right to contract. There shall be no law impairing the obligations of a contract. Our right to contract is unlimited. And then a union, in order to form a more perfect union, a union is a league of friendship. A league of friendship is a confederacy. Federalist Papers, and Mark Bond, he's got one here, 43, Federalist 43 and 45. I thought there was like 5 or 6 or something. There was like 3 or 4 different places in the Federalists that refer to us as a confederacy. And we are. So technically speaking, we are a capitalist confederate republic. Not a constitutional republic, not a representative democracy, not anything else. Fact is a capitalist confederate republic.
Very good. So, backtracking back to page 1 here, this is the overview of Section 1, National Defense, Citizenship, Training, Individual Initiative, Foundation of Citizenship, Social Phase of Citizenship, Economic Phase, Philosophy of American Government. Okay, and moving on to page 5, the general purpose. So, essentially the mission of the course, and then also general purpose, knowledge, safeguarding, character building, national defense, and then section 3, the time allotment. So this was 12 lessons broken up into about 40 minutes to an hour each, totaling 8 hours. So like I mentioned before, rainy day, they would go in and probably plow through this, or they would section it out throughout that 30-day training course. And just a little plug here for your own educational groups. You can utilize this training manual as an educational piece and go through those 12 lessons. If you meet weekly, you got 12 weeks of an educational component, just to read through them together and discuss whether it's relevant or whether it's not. This was written in 1928. It was written very well. As Kirk has already mentioned, there's some things that probably this manual could use an update potentially for more accurate information, right? But it is an historical document that can be used. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on this one, okay?
Right.
You can glean things out of it.
Clearly, this was an attempt to try and bring some sort of education to the front about what it means to be an American. Whether we transpose that into the word citizen here or not, try to follow along as, what I've stated before based on the Law of Nations, Book 1, Chapter 19, subsection 212 and 213. Know that who you are. That we are, first, Americans, always. We're not Republicans or Democrats or liberals, libertarians. We're Americans. And we're supposed to have a law of the nation. And citizens are the servants, but, given that, let's just try to focus on what they were trying to accomplish here, which is educating the people on some duties that we have here and some of the history of the law per the military.
So moving on, section 4, I'd like to highlight page 6, paragraph 16. It's worth mentioning again the didactic method concerning the facts and history, social changes, economic development, basic principles of our government will be used without discussion, with our argument, special emphasis being given to the fact that the United States is a republic, not a democracy. Okay, so that's in paragraph 16. So here is on page 8, kind of the whole lessons broken apart. Okay, so the high level of all 12 lessons with topic description. It's broken into 4 sections, as you can see: social, economic, political, and patriotic. So it's my recommendation. If you don't have a lot of time, but you do want to glean something out of here, I would start with lesson 6 and move on to lesson 11. Throughout there is probably the meat of this manual. So if you're someone who likes to just get in there and glean the nuggets, I gave you that little tip.
Right.
Okay.
Huh. Here's a question for the folks out there and you, Oscar. Right of self-preservation or self-defense. Where does that come from? What body of law does that come from? James K., don't give it away.
Self-preservation and self-defense.
Yeah, they're kind of one and the same.
Yeah.
No. What body of law, folks? And to answer your question out there, Mark, was have I read this manual yet? I actually got this from Destry about, it's actually been over a year ago now. I perused it and I got to a point where I couldn't really stand it too much because of the verbiage that's in here and the miscategorization, but there is still some very good points and principles to learn from this. And that's kind of why I'm wanting to do this with Oscar as he goes through this. I want to, in a little bit, kind of critique it and at least pull out the main principle that they're trying to get across.
Yeah. And Kurt, we had talked too about maybe doing a rewrite and an alteration to it, a version 2000-25 and 2000-25, maybe. Who knows?
Right. So can you answer the question? What body of law does the right of self-defense come from?
Canonical law, from the Bible, the Ten Commandments.
The body of law is known as the law of nature. See that recent Bruin case that I've covered a couple times now? They refer to the Second Amendment saying, well, wait, that right way long time ago before the Second Amendment was even written. And then cites Blackstone's commentary on the law of England and then says that the right of self-defense comes from nature, the law of nature, law, body of law, jurisdiction. So when we say the right of self-defense, that body of law, the diction, jurisdiction we're speaking in, is the law of nature.
Okay, very good. So moving on to page 9. So this is the first lesson. And moving forward, each slide will contain the lesson main topic with the paragraph subtitles listed. And I'm going to read an excerpt or 2 or 3, depending on how long Kirk lets me go here, from that lesson. And you, the participant, will guess which paragraph or section it comes from. Okay. And then I'll tell you after it's done. So here's an excerpt. Obligations of citizenship. Andrew Jackson said that every good citizen makes his country's honor his own, and not only cherishes it, but cherishes it as precious but sacred. Lincoln declared, I must stand by anybody that stands right, stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he is wrong. Which paragraph do you think that's from? Any guesses out there? I can see, I got the telegram up so we can see that there.
Yeah, I've got Rumble, YouTube, and Telegram all up. So nobody's answered that one yet.
Okay,
probably because they're not following along in the manual themselves, and a couple people are, I think.
So just recommendation from a fellow patriot. When you're there's another free one for you. Anytime these presentations or Kirk's given presentation, or you're looking to consume any information, take notes, and I highly recommend that you do it in cursive. So it's one of those things that's not being taught anymore. Those of us that do know it, I would strongly encourage you to actively take notes in cursive. It connects things. It connects your hand modality to the brain and to the eyes as to what you're visually seeing, and also to the ears as what you hear. So
hand and eye and mind coordination.
Yeah.
For clarification, could you please repeat the question?
Sure. Andrew Jackson said that every good citizen makes his country's honor his own, and not only cherishes it as precious, but sacred. Lincoln declared, I must stand by anybody that stands right, stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he is wrong.
So what was the question?
What paragraph on the screen did that come from?
Oh, so that would be somebody would have to actually read,
right,
to know that.
Yeah, that's right. Right. It's a challenge portion.
What? Oh, yeah. I would say obligations of citizenship.
Yes. Very good, Kurt. A+ student. Oh, right. Very good.
Only on days it end in Y now.
Yeah. And when it doesn't have to do with government indoctrination.
Right.
Yeah. Teach me what I really need to know. How about that? Okay. Here's another one for you from the same selection. Opportunity for education and individual improvement, unrestricted possession of property, joint rights to interstate commerce, communication and transportation, public utilities, freedom of residence, and choice of occupation, care or protection on the high seas or abroad through passport privileges and international law. So what paragraph is that from Field Training Manual 2000-25, Lesson 1?
I myself would say guarantees as to person and property.
Very good, Kurt. Paragraph 28.
And more specifically, the reason why is because to person is in dealing with a fiction, your business.
Yeah, LLC.
Any kind of business where you're acting in foreign commerce, and that's primarily 99.9% of what government was instituted for, was to protect the merchants transporting their goods. And then, I don't know, what was the merchant marines for again? Wasn't that the civil power that's been around since 1553? Yeah, they were supposed to regulate the ports.
Yeah, JK just mentioned something about that too. Very good. Ports were very important.
Very important.
Okay, moving on to to lesson 2. That'd be on page 62 if you're following along. Okay. So this was actually touched on a little bit already. He profits most who serves best. In the development of her strength, wealth, and accomplishments, America is founded upon the establishment of successive communities bound together individually and collectively by interdependent relationships. Sound like anything that's taking the country by storm right now?
What are you
maybe a
talking about?
maybe a Thursday night call might be referenced there too. Maybe the national-assembly.net. All right.
Absolutely.
So they are created and coordinated in home, school, church, and local self government. What was that? Local self government,
Hmm.
as expressed in town meetings, or my own words, an assembly. Okay.
Hmm.
Each individual member contributed his part to that greatest of all forces by which the character of the people of our nation is sustained and developed. So, what paragraph do you think that's from out of the selections on the screen?
Mm.
It's a lot of them there.
Hmm. Can you repeat part of
Sure.
that?
Yeah. He profits most who serves best. That's really all you needed, all you really needed there. In the development of her strength, wealth, and accomplishments, America is founded upon the establishment of successive communities bound together individually and collectively by interdependent relationships. They are created and coordinated in home, school, church, and local self government as expressed in town meetings. Each individual member contributed his part to that greatest of all forces by which the character of the people of our nation is sustained and developed.
Mm. I'm torn between community relationships as a coordinated action as the cosmopolitan character of population.
Yeah. So go with your gut, and that would be 33. Right. Coordinated action under community relationships. So very
Yeah.
good, Kurt. Half a point. No, just kidding.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
It
That's
was my
good.
first choice actually.
Yeah. Yes. Go with your gut. Go with your instinct. So here's another one. I've got two more on this page. Do we need to just do one per selection, or should we or we can we elaborate and do a couple others? I'll
Yeah.
let you
Let's
be.
go ahead and elaborate a little bit.
Okay.
Kind of spread it out.
Sounds good.
We're
So
we're not on any time constraint here, folks. So we were supposed to start at 5 and expecting to go at least 3 hours with this because I believe there's some good information in here, and so does Oscar. That's why we're both here tonight. So
yeah, we're here.
shoot it out.
We're we're in it for you. So here's another one. So among the purposes set forth in the preamble to the Constitution are domestic tranquility and general welfare, both those in quotes. The accomplishment of these purposes is based upon observance of the principles of interdependent relationships. What paragraph do you think that's from?
Kind of just gave itself away there.
It did. We'll see if you're catching it. See if the oatmeal's sticking to the wall.
Yeah, we'll go with the interdependence of capital, labor, and consumer for 40.
36. Beneficial to persons and property.
Huh.
Okay.
Wow. Tricked one.
Yeah, I tried to, you know, it's pretty tricky. Okay. One more here for this selection. One of our greatest problems is the education, assimilation, amalgamation, I always have problems with that word, apologize, of these various and numerous foreign groups into an understanding, harmonious, loyal, and upstanding American citizenship. What do you think? That one's pretty tough, actually. I like to highlight most everything that talked about education in here, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
But so, oh wait, go ahead, give me a guess there, Kurt. I don't want to.
Beneficial to peace.
I could see why you would select that. It's actually 44R opportunity right there. So that is okay.
Even Scrimshaw went with beneficial to peace. Mark Bond, 42.
42.
But yeah, definitely could see that myself. So
Okay. Diversity. Okay, so moving on to lesson 3. Diversity of opinion as to, and so most of these excerpts are ones that I've found they're being beneficial nuggets of. So just throwing that out there too.
gotcha.
So diversity of opinion as to what is America's greatest asset creates a discussion which leads into every section and every activity of our country. Each individual is governed by the interest that lies closest to his heart.
I'm going to go with freedom, liberty.
Which paragraph?
Probably that individual character, moral worth.
Oh, okay. Got it. I could see that. So it's actually good old 45, the greatest asset of America.
Well, that is what you talked about was the greatest asset of America. So
Yep.
I thought maybe we were talking more on what's on the rest of it, but
Yep. Okay. Here's another one for you. The New England town was founded for and grouped about the church, which was the clubhouse of that time.
mm-hmm.
But the glory of the New England town was its town meeting, a combination of neighborhood, society, caucus, legislation, and council meeting. This was the most successful political institution of the time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Right.
Served, that was my own little excerpt there, served as a private school in debate and a nursery of the American statesmen.
Yep.
The national ideas, brilliant.
Imagine that.
National ideals historically traced was A.B. Hart was the author of that quote. So some brilliance and genius there, right?
Yeah, definitely going with national character.
Yeah.
The ideals of the American colonists. That's part of the General Assembly and how it's supposed to work when we're presenting petitions for redress of grievances at church, at the general kind of assembly where people are assembled.
Exactly.
Anybody got any grievances here today? You got, hey, the steer took out the fence over on blah, blah, blah. Okay. Who wants to go help with that? That may not be, technically speaking, a petition with a grievance, but I'm trying to get it more of a personal touch and how things were within the community back in the early days of this nation, America, here was that the people came together and they helped one another within their own communities. That's that community life, church and town meeting stuff.
Yeah, but kept things neighborly. If my my horse broke out of my fence and destroyed your garden, and you said, "Hey, Oscar, come come take a look at what your horse did," and I say, "No, I don't think so. That didn't happen." Right? Not believing it. Well, we can take this to the
Yeah.
town hall and get it fixed, or we can deal with it at the lowest level possible. So I'm gonna go get the stuff to refix my garden, and Kirk could say that, and I'm gonna do it on Saturday, and you're gonna help me. That's
Yep.
my proposition, right?
Unless they had a good moral character, they would say, "Oh man, I'm sorry that my horse got out. Thanks for bringing my horse home. Sorry about your garden. Let's go to church on Sunday and find out who all wants to help come replant your garden."
Yeah, yeah, that too. Very good.
That's that community life,
Yep.
because gardens back then, technically speaking, some people grew this, and some people grew that, and some people grew that, and then it was all kind of pooled together and shared among the community.
Right. So moving on to the next one. Same selection. Our present form of government would never have been possible without this long period of preparation involving study, experience, mistakes, and growing measures of success, exemplified in the wise legislation inaugurated by several of the colonies and in the increasing spirit of interdependence prior to the War of the Revolution. Success was made possible due to the collective fitness of the colonials for the task of self government.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I was kind of going to go with the cooperation there, but that's more aligned the individual character there about public spirit and the foundation of character in my mind.
So, absolutely right. The experimental self government
Hmm.
there. So, very good. That's what you guessed, wasn't it, Kurt?
Oh no, I was over under individual character
Oh, okay.
with the public spirit and
Public
the
spirit.
foundation of character regarding government, essentially.
I did. It does fall. It does fall into that category too. That is
Yeah, I
interesting.
guess you got the pioneer spirit over there too, right? Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. The next selection. The secret of the remarkable progress of America in the first 100 years of the constitutional government lies in the fact that her public spirited men were striving to put the best into government, not to take the most out of it. What's in it for me? that was that was not the that was not the theme, but it seems to be that now, right?
Is that
Hey,
that?
let's vote ourselves all a raise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get to
Anyway.
the point where nobody's actually working.
Yeah.
Too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Yeah. So that was did you want to guess on that one, Kurt?
I guess that definitely would have to fall into the last category there, right?
Yep, correct. Public spirit.
Hmm.
Yep. And then my
And
personal
that
favorite,
no collective morality.
yeah. Yeah, there's a good paragraph in there about that too. Uh, so my personal favorite is after reading this manual, my favorite author now is Daniel Webster by a long shot. Uh, so here's a quote from him: "On the diffusion of education among the people rests the preservation and perpetuity of our free institutions."
Hmm.
what sub, it's obviously an individual character, but what sub paragraph?
Is that foundation of character?
It's a good guess. The desire for education and religion. So, but yeah, it does could be fall under that foundation of character as well. Lesson 3 continued on page 16. So, a few choices here. One of the one of the most encouraging signs of continued prosperity in America is the constantly growing tendency towards compromise and cooperation in the affairs of capital and labor, based upon mutual confidence. Such differences as are bound to arise are, as rule, disposed of the general good of all.
Somebody wanted to. Scrimshaw was asking you to repeat that last part there.
Of that paragraph or the
previous
Okay.
on dealing with desire for education and religion.
Sure. So that was paragraph 49, subparagraph desire for education and religion. And it states on the diffusion of education among the people rests the preservation and perpetuity of our free institutions. And that was a quote from Daniel Webster.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm going to take a quick break, but I don't think you really need me right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Play along, folks. I'll be right back.
So, paragraph 51, subparagraph spirit of cooperation and compromise. One of the most encouraging signs of continued prosperity in America is the constantly growing tendency toward compromise and cooperation in the affairs of capital and labor, based upon mutual confidence. Such differences as are bound to arise, as a rule, disposed of to the general good of all. Oh, shoot, I just gave it away. Yeah, paragraph 51, subparagraph spirit of cooperation. So there's one free one for you while Kirk's gone. And here's another one for you. America is slowly, so which one out of the selections is this? America is slowly but surely winning the confidence of the nation of the world. The desire to arbitrate rather than resort to armaments has distinguished America in her international policy, desiring to adjust all differences within the principles of justice and equity. Her commercial treaties are written in terms of square dealing. Backed by the guarantee of the American character, her obligations and her dollars are eagerly accepted wherever they may be offered. Any guesses on that? I can see the Telegram chat. So it's actually paragraph 52, political character, and subparagraph diplomacy. Okay. Moving on to lesson 4. Here is an excerpt out of this. The history of any nation and its ideals and achievements, its motives and spirit invariably reflects the character of its leaders. The stories of the lives and accomplishments of its great men are the windows through which is revealed the soul of the nation. Any guesses on that? Second, turn the light on here. Okay. So that was actually paragraph 53, the value of biography. Okay. Here's another selection. In the trying days and following the Revolutionary War, this person was a member of the Continental Congress, governor of Virginia, ambassador to France, succeeding Franklin, and recalled to become Secretary of State in President Washington's cabinet, where he bitterly opposed the policy of Alexander Hamilton in his endeavor to extend the powers of government over the people. Any guesses there? Which person that would be? Okay, I think that was enough time. Not seeing any answers. Thomas Jefferson, specifically subparagraph, President of the United States. So I would like to note on paragraph 56 there that at the age of 81, member of the Constitutional Convention. So at the age of 81 years, this old young-hearted philosopher took the most prominent part in the deliberation of the Constitutional Convention held in Philadelphia from May to September 1787. Okay, moving on to lesson 4 continued. So when this person was but 20 years old, he delivered an address which contained the following, and I quote, "The experience of all ages will bear us out in saying that alterations of political systems are always attended with a greater or lesser degree of danger. The politician that undertakes to improve a constitution with as little, though, as a farmer sets about mending his plow is no master to his trade. If the constitution be a systematic one, its parts are necessarily connected, that an alteration in one will work an alteration in all. And the cobbler, however pure and honest his intentions, will in the end find that what came to his hands a fair, lovely fabric goes from them a miserable piece of patchwork." Any guesses on that? So that's my favorite author out of this document, Daniel Webster, paragraph 59. Okay, here's one that everybody should get, hopefully. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Any guesses?
Nope.
You know that one, Kirk?
You'll have to repeat it.
Oh, yeah. So a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Mm-hmm.
Who said that from the selection?
Um, I want to say it was Abraham Lincoln.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah, I can't see that. I can only see the comments on Telegram. So, uh, so I do have a special note for the folks in Missouri. I did some deep diving on the first governor of Missouri as a territory. It was actually Lewis from the expedition, Lewis and Clark, and so Lewis was the first governor of Missouri as a territory, and oh man, I forgot the exact date. I think it was around 1812. So there was some churn in 1812, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis was on his way to Washington City, not Washington D.C. at the time, Washington City, and he committed suicide. So I have a deep-seated suspicion that he might have been known to be on a list similar to the Clintons, perhaps.
Mm.
Just a theory, because after Lewis's demise of self uh, self hanging. Probably would have been a doorknob near there if it was closer to this time frame. But anyway, there was a governor for the territory that lasted 6 days. I can't remember his name, and then he gave it up. And then lo and behold, Clark became the the governor of the territory of Missouri, and he sought it all the way through to statehood in 1821. So just interesting to note that regarding Lewis and Clark. And there's a ton of crazy information out there on Lewis and Clark.
Yeah.
If
Yes,
you
there
really
is.
if you really wanted to do some research on that, there's not uh, there's there's a lot. I'll just say that. It's
Yep.
not what the school books have told us necessarily. So
Yep.
so here's another excerpt from a individual on this list. So as a junior officer of the United States Army at the age of 29, this man was designated by the Secretary of War to explore a route from western Missouri to the South Pass.
That was Daniel Boone, wasn't it?
General John C. Fremont.
Mm.
Yeah, and then just kind of a just an interesting note. There is a good brief on the Northwest Territory in paragraph 61, subsection on page 47. So that's pretty good. Little brief overview of the Northwest Territory. Just wanted to highlight that. So I've got one selection out of the lesson 4 continued here. So this man secured a contract from the government for the manufacture of firearms, being the first to effect the division of labor by which each part was made separately. It was from this invention that he made his fortune. Not the cotton gin. Oh, I gave it away now.
Yeah, I still couldn't answer that one.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Eli Whitney, inventor of the cotton gin.
Mm.
Yeah. So the interchangeability of the 1911 actually was kind of critical, and essentially that was the the not design, the kind of footprint, the the way to go forward with the Industrial Revolution. The interchangeability was crucial to all parts that were manufactured. Uh, and that's where it started, was with Eli Whitney. The cotton gin was actually considered a failure, but he should probably be more known for the manufacture of the firearm having interchangeability. I see it in my occupation. I'm sure you've seen it in your mechanical field as well, Kirk. So
Yeah.
and just another highlight from interesting person here on this page. Does anyone know what the first telegraph message from Mr. Morse was? Samuel F.B. Morse.
That would be the Morse code.
Morse code.
SOS, right?
No, it wasn't.
Shit on a shingle?
Yeah. So actually, May 24th, 1844, it was what, and it was actually.
I vaguely remember this from high school.
I'm actually amazed that you were taught it, actually. So it was essentially, I'm going to get it wrong. It was essentially in a courtroom for all intents purposes. And, people were all gathered around to actually see if this was even gonna work. And the message that Samuel F.B. Morse put out was, "What hath God wrought?" Yeah. So it's interesting. The first telecommunication was what
the first text message.
First text message. That's right.
Here
we are. Here we're on Telegram right now.
Yep.
Okay. Lesson 5. So on page 57. So okay. In the so where is this excerpt from? In the government set up under this was made for a freedom of action which gives full play to every citizen in the exercise of his rights and powers. The wisdom of the law of our land is emphasized with each passing year. The remarkable economic development of America is based upon the liberties and restrictions granted as the equal right of all her citizens.
Was that the Federation of the Colonies?
Well, that's a good guess. It's actually 76 and the constitutional provision. Oh, what did I do there? Did I mess that up?
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. It's under the paragraph 76, no subparagraph.
Oh, yep.
And here's one more. This clause. Okay, so this clause. So we already know where that one's going to be under, right?
Mm-hmm.
This clause establishes one class of citizens only, with equality to all and privilege to none. Under this and the immigration acts of our nation is assured a strength and unity of purpose and action, and an equality of citizenship that could not otherwise be attained.
That would be the naturalization clause.
Yep, very good.
Liberty and justice for all.
Yep. Well, I thought it was just for them that are in elected office, Kirk.
Well, laws for thee, not for
me.
Yeah, not for me.
Looks like my camera's getting shot again. Got it overheated, I guess. Too much.
Put an ice cube on.
Too much valence electrons there.
Right.
Okay, so lesson 5 continued. So here's an excerpt. America is mechanized, and specialized to a degree not approached by any other country. Our automatic labor saving and power driven machinery is the wonder of Europe. Our mass production, made possible by special machinery and highly trained operators, astounds the world with its magnitude, quality, and low cost.
The Industrial Revolution, the production, the basis of wealth and wages.
Yep, it's actually 88, right underneath that. But yeah,
Yeah, I didn't even read that one.
It's definitely in that same vein, same bead. Yep.
That one leads to the other.
Okay, so modern methods of industry discipline the lazy, wasteful, and disloyal workmen, speed up production, work out shortcuts, improve quality, and eliminate waste, thereby contributing largely to lower costs through greater efficiency. At the same time, there is engendered a higher appreciation to the employee of the worth to himself, his employer, and his country.
I guess that's kind of right in there with the higher self appreciation, but the employee becomes the employer.
Correct. Very good.
Making people feel good about what they're doing, you know?
Yep. And yeah, so 90, the employer becomes the employee. A keener sense of pride awakens ambition, quickened intellect, and inspires study. A broader view of life reveals opportunity, creates new desires expressed in higher living standards and rapidly growing participation in industry as a partner through purchase of stock in different enterprises. Through the quickened intelligence and systematic savings, the employee of today becomes the employer of tomorrow. Uh, so I do want to read an excerpt out of 92. Is America worth saving? So this is an important paragraph. The remarkable development of American industry has proven beneficial to all, not only to the employer and employee, but also to the world. America has amassed an unbelievable wealth, which is being spent for the good of mankind. In its large range of distribution, it has fixed our standards of living at the highest point known to civilization. We may therefore answer, yes, America is worth saving. It was in 1928, and it is to this day.
And just the question out here was, when was the Industrial Revolution? And it was in 1760 is when they started.
Okay, moving on to lesson 6, individual initiative. So here's an excerpt here. With personal rights, private property, and the church abolished to make subjection complete, air quotes, the state declares that the pure collectivism, there can be no family ties for children like all other life, where to work, what to do, and what to think, and what to say, for the state is the law. Sound like anything familiar, folks?
Kind of sounds like communism.
Yes.
Or where the state is the law, state is the parent under parens patriae from the Roman Catholic Church. The state is the parent.
Yeah. So 95.
Collectivistic government.
Collectivistic government, and then the abolition of the family specifically, right?
Yep.
So,
and that whole denial of personal rights, getting away from natural rights and saying, oh, well, that's all been acquired anew through the civil law, and you now have civil rights, and only those rights which we tell you that you have.
So it's, one of Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals, right?
Absolutely.
So their book,
take over the medical, take over the education, take over the money, take over.
Yeah. So here's another reason that the Democrats, at that time, didn't want this little booklet out there.
Oh, would that like expose the corruption?
Yeah.
Expose
Oh,
their state of mind? To quote Linda out here, by state meaning the state's mindset, and it is. It's a state of being.
yeah.
What is the state of being? Who's in control? That they want that collectivism
Yeah.
where
Govern.
we get to control everything, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I don't know if you ascribe to this. I've read it. I haven't really found it necessarily anywhere, but it is worth mentioning within with this realm. So government, governo, is control,
Mm-hmm.
and then ment is the root of
Mm-hmm.
the mind. So that's essentially that's a neutral, right? It's not necessarily saying you know that's good or bad. It's just there is control of the mind. The government is control of the mind, right?
Well,
Now, if
actually,
you
it's the
have
other way around.
well,
No, no, no,
or,
no, no.
well, go ahead.
We
Yeah,
we're misunderstanding this right here. A lot of people, oh, government, yeah, mind control. You're absolutely correct. So, what that really breaks down to is, first of all, government is the Constitution, the conscience of the minds of governor. So, the Constitution creates the scope and authority of the governor. So, that's controlling the mind of the man, the person, who assumes the actor of governor. So the Constitution is supposed to be the mind control of the man who assumes those powers.
okay, interesting.
They're not supposed to be controlling our minds.
Yeah.
That's the
So,
instrument of government, to
so the
control the
people,
minds of the men who fill those seats, those emoluments of the offices.
so the people are supposed to have control over those minds. That's
And
interesting.
that's the reason why it's the Constitution conscience for or conscience of the United States of America, or the state of being of whatever, state of Idaho, state of, but this whole state of thing really didn't get started until after the Reconstructions acts. It was Idaho state, Virginia state, not state of Virginia.
And that even kind of goes into the Constitution of versus Constitution for. Yeah. A little bit, maybe. That's
Ish.
far reach.
It's
Far reach.
it's really still just the conscience of or conscience for whoever, whatever man or woman takes that seat. We already have a designated conscience for the governor. They just have to act the part, discharge the duties of that office, as we, the people, dictate. So we're essentially creating the actual mind of the governor.
Okay.
I hope that kind of makes some sense there.
Yeah, it does. Thanks for that. Thanks for that clarification. Uh, very good. Okay, so back to the questions. Uh, let's see. Out of this selection, collectivism declares that the possession of property has developed protection of property through governments, courts, police power, and public opinion, making it difficult for one to acquire private property except by work. Private property must be abolished so that all will live on the plane of equal condition. As a matter of fact, however, human nature will see to it that the equal condition will very quickly become an equal condition of misery, want, and discontent. So here's my own words. Think Charles Schwab. You will own nothing and be happy.
Bingo.
Eating the bugs.
Yep. Socialism or communism,
Yeah.
or a monarchy.
Yeah. So that's from 95, confiscation of private property.
Mm-hmm. That's an ideology, right?
And then another one, uh, when the citizens of a nation seeking comforts and pleasures find no joy or satisfaction in hard work, the years of that nation are numbered. Free bread and circus marked the declining days of Rome. The easy way, right? The AVR way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
It's all a deception.
deception. So that's socialism kills.
Mm-hmm.
There. Moving on. Let's see here. The time is past when hope of success can be offered to the ignorant.
Hmm.
What do you think that one's from?
Religion outlawed?
That's a good guess. The price of success, 101.
Hmm. Maybe we can explain that one a little bit more.
Pull it up there.
Essentially, each one of these that you're bringing up are a fundamental principle, is what
Right.
what you're actually have pulled out here are basic principles.
These are all themes. Yep.
Yeah.
An inspector, and I've worked on various different spheres throughout my career. About 4 years ago,
Basic
the
principles.
recording stopped and it's playing. Kurt,
Say again?
sounded like there was a recording playing.
Oh yeah, I was refreshing the YouTube over here,
Oh, okay.
and it starts to play the audio.
Okay, so 1, 2, 1. So 101, the price of success. Price of success, whether individual or nation, is found in work, education, and ideals. And
so that's kind of more of the success of our nation, right?
right. Yeah. So
This isn't talking about
if you
as
don't
in
work, you don't eat.
yeah. That's not what we're actually the principle we're trying to establish here is that there's a maximum law something out there about the heavy hardship blah 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 rewards those who it's a heavy hardship what we're doing here. We have to educate ourselves, gain this knowledge, and then work towards securing our God-given rights. Right? And take back our right to private property. Our, natural God-given rights, the laws of nature. It's all been subverted through the Roman civil law, the code. And many people are not aware that, every time you look at United States Code, Code of Federal Regulations, Uniform Commercial Code, Idaho Code, it's all code. That's the Roman civil law stuff, and it's as I found in Bouvet's Law Dictionary, 1856 there, under the term law, civil, it's opposed to the law of nations, laws of nature, and the common law, and it's all enforced through bills of pains and penalties. This is legislation that prescribes a punishment is a bill of attainder. Article 1, Section 9 and Article 1, Section 10 both prohibit bills of attainder. Anything that basically that says promises an award prior to any kind of action or anything is a bill of attainder. If you do this, this is the fine and jail time. That's a bill of attainder or bill of pains and penalty. Felony is the bills of attainder. Misdemeanors are the bills of pains and penalties. That's how they classify it under the Roman civil law. Otherwise, if you read the Sixth Amendment, what does it actually say? It doesn't say felonies and misdemeanors. Doesn't it say capital and infamous crimes? Doesn't mention anything about felonies and misdemeanors. That's the Roman civil law set up. Well, that's a felony because we say so. That's a misdemeanor because we say so.
Traffic ticket, bill of attainder.
No, they call those are traffic infractions.
Fractions, yeah. Yeah.
Wrong system of government. Somebody's not of sound mind up there.
Moving on to lesson 7, liberty and independence. So here's a selection. The American colonies did not become free and independent until they were strong enough to throw off the yoke of the oppressor.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely the Declaration of Independence.
Yep. And then
that's the protest.
Yep. And specifically,
the formal written declaration declaring things unlawful that have happened or are about to happen. That's a protest, a formal written declaration.
Yep. And then here's another one. Every American citizen must be constantly on guard that the principles set forth in the Declaration of Independence are to survive. So that's obviously survival.
Yep.
Their Declaration of
And
Independence.
we have to have that knowledge. You have to know first, right?
Yep. It's the beginning point. And okay, here's one. However, this liberty cannot be invoked as a protection against legislation for the punishment of acts inimical to the peace, good order, and morals of society, because professed doctrine of religious beliefs are not superior to the laws of the land. No person is permitted to become a law unto himself, nor may he, in the name of religion or through a religious ceremony, violate the law.
Would that be that fundamental law? The law of nature?
Law of nature, nature's law, yeah. Religious liberty from 108.
Well, I kind of disagree with some of that because they're saying that we can't have that liberty of conscience, religion. And we can't think for ourselves and make that our law. That's actually false. Because our right to contract is unlimited. And when you enter into a contract, that becomes the law. And that's why there's no law that shall impair the obligations of a contract. The only exception to that is fraud.
So are the laws of the land, just thinking out loud, are the laws of the land nature's law?
Well, it comes first, and then law of the land literally means due process of law. So part of the Constitution itself lays down certain processes, such as how does how does a man become president? What's the process? Oh, there's some prerequisites here. There's some qualifications to run for the office of president. So that's more or less the law of the land. And in some parts, it's actually, the full phrase is common law of the land. But to stick to just law of the land as due process of law, look at the Constitution from a different point of view, as it's nothing but a bunch of processes to bring things into being. It creates the legislative branch, it creates the executive branch, it creates the judicial branch, the mind, control, the minds of those that which is created by the people. But what's the process of putting people in there? Oh, and then things like impeachment. What's the process? Oh, well, that would be the sole power of impeachment is in the House. The sole power to try all impeachments is in the Senate. And in order for a man to actually be impeached, it takes both steps to be completed to be removed from duty. So many people say, oh, well, the House impeached him. He was impeached. That's not true. Right? That's the articles of impeachment, but yet they still have to do the trial. So it's a two-step process. And so that's what I try to explain, or why I try to explain the Constitution itself as law of the land, is this, simply the supreme due process of law and due process of law within a state.
Okay, very good. Here's one more for you. Let our object be our country, our whole country, and nothing but our country. And by the blessings of God, may that country itself become a vast and splendid monument, not of oppression and terror, but of wisdom, of peace, and of liberty, upon which the world may gaze with admiration forever. Daniel Webster.
Personal liberty, right?
Yeah. Personal liberty.
107?
Yep. Oh, close. That was in 112. Safeguards up to our liberties.
Okay.
Definitely a connection there. All right. Lesson 8, the purpose of government. Let's see. A correct understanding of the purposes of government furnishes a remedy for erroneous and dangerous ideas threatening this country. Government is instituted for the common benefit, maintaining order, and protecting life, liberty, and property. To secure liberty is the main business of governments and the reason for their institution. Blackstone.
Yep. And essentially it's any kind of foreign interference, right? Foreign to the people. Otherwise, it would be a suit between a man and a man, any kind of interference with an exercise of a right. But when it comes to government protecting us, acting in commerce, because that's pretty much what it is, and it's all about foreign invasion or internal insurrection. That's it. That's your two choices. So, is it some sort of a foreign influence, or is it internal influence?
That's a good question.
So, I guess that would be the purpose of government, 115.
Yep.
Paternalism.
Correct. That's right.
But the people are the parent, because the parent is the sovereign. And because just like mother and father are we would say parent, but the mother and father, proper diction, common law, laws of nature diction here, are the sovereign because they have the power to create their sons and daughters. So the people, law of nations, right there at the very beginning, book 1, chapter 1, that the people are the sovereign body politic. The power to create, it's the policy. So even the Constitution itself is still just policy. It's not actually law in the sense of right, law of nature. That's why it's called law of the land.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, lost your video, though.
Yeah, I tried to unplug it and plug it back in to see if it would kick it on. All right. Moving on. Here's one more for you. All the powers of government are derived from the people, who retain the supreme authority over all delegated powers of government. Which paragraph do you think that's from?
Oh, that's the American philosophy of government.
Got that right. Say that one again.
Yep.
Say it in the back. So
that's the ideology or philosophy of government, is who has what power and who has oversight of that which they created.
Yeah.
That's probably the people.
Probably another primary reason why this manual was eliminated.
Mm-hmm. They don't want the people, not American state nationals. No, they want they don't want the people to know what our true powers are.
Yeah.
The main one is to hold them responsible.
Yeah.
They've taken that common law grand jury away, and the phone call I had with Roger just the other day, rereading chapter 61 of the Magna Carta about the common law grand jury there. Well, the grand jury has the power to take their property, the public servant's property.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say anything about going to court, because that is the general court of justice. The common law grand jury decides.
Interesting.
All the way back to 1215 with the Magna Carta, chapter 61. So, like Trump has said, and I want to reiterate, that when this all does go down, we're going to have a completely different kind of government that anybody who is alive today has never seen.
Yeah, we will be back in some form, I think is what he said.
Yeah. Called common law, and government gets kicked to the curb and out there on the water where they belong.
Yeah.
Regulating foreign commerce at the ports of entry, airport, seaport.
Interesting.
And any land port.
Yep. So that was definitely 117.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. So here's an excerpt. The purpose of our government is to protect, not to provide, the property of its citizens, to guard his person, not to provide his subsistence, while he acquires the means of livelihood, to give every citizen equal opportunity in his chosen work and assure him of equal standing before the law.
That's still the American philosophy of government. Or even could be part of the purpose of government, but...
Let's see, I might have messed that one up. Give me 1 second. Check my document here.
You may have all the choices on the screen here, unless it's the progress of government, government of laws.
I've got 116, but it looks like I didn't give myself
It's very interesting reading the preamble, because preamble essentially is a preemption, and it's we, the people, in order to form a more perfect union. We the people establish justice. We the people ensure domestic tranquility. We the people provide for the common defense. We the people provide for the general welfare. We the people, by creating this instrument of government, secure the blessings of liberty. This is, I think, one reason why they do not like the preamble to the Constitution, because it is a preemption. They have no authority over any of that. And that goes back to that American philosophy of government.
Yeah.
But in reading that, it's that more perfect union, which is an indicator that we already had a perfect union, which technically speaking we did. How do you make it more perfect? Well, the issues were how to collect taxes and defend. That's a Federalist 45. That's pretty much the whole issue behind the Articles of Confederation. Was, well, how do we defend how do the inland states defend the outlying states when it's enemy attack from a foreign invasion? And it's not fair for the people of the outlying states to defend the rest of everyone else while they all get to just sit in a lap of luxury and do nothing. So that was part of that argument. And then, of course, the taxation part is how do we support this, that common defense? Oh, Linda out here on YouTube. Today's governing government is now about who is who, right? Who has the money and has the power? Absolutely. Back to that Rules for Radical, Saul Alinsky, and International Monetary Fund and all that good stuff. How did it get to this point? I think we've all figured that out. Time for study. It's just that's it. Time for study. We have to learn. We got to get back to that education and action. Claim and exercise our powers, the right to alter, reform, or abolish anything at any time we deem it necessary. Who is the we? We, the people. We need to reassemble the people.
And you can't take action unless you have the knowledge, right?
Right. How are you going to do something if you don't know how to do it? I'm gonna go fly this plane. Well, how are you going to fly the plane if you know nothing about flying a plane? Well, I can just do it. No. There might be 1 out of 500 million people that could jump into a plane for the first time and take off and land, but pretty slim to none. In a way that it's pretty complex and technical, but once it's learned and broke down to its simplicity, it's pretty simple.
Yeah. Move stick back, nose goes up.
Right? But, the people
like
need
the
to know
the
who they are and what powers we actually have, and then how to claim and exercise those powers. You got the jump rope. Great. Do you know how to use the jump rope?
So moving on to lesson 9, the representative government. So here's an excerpt. So you should be on page 90 if you're following along in the manual. And here is an excerpt. Madison and the Federalists emphasized the fact that this government was a republic and not a democracy. Constitution makers, having considered both an autocracy and a democracy as undesirable forms of government, while a republic promises the cure for which we are seeking.
Gee, oh man. I'm guessing representative government, the American experiment.
No. It's 121, so it's a continuation from the republic into that form of government being superior to all others, aka the republic form.
Mm. Which is kind of a new one, really, in our history.
Correct. And let's see. Okay. Here's another selection from this screen. Sovereignty was placed in the hands of the people. No authority was delegated to any department, either of national or state government, except by the people through the provisions contained in the Constitution.
Yep, that's powers reserved to state and people. 133. I would think.
It's a good guess. 127, government by representation. I'd give you points for that because those are definitely in the same
realm,
same vein. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to highlight this section, specifically paragraph 126. So the enumeration of the constitutional rights. So individual rights formally guarded by the original Constitution provisions. No ex post facto, no bill of attainder, no suspension of privileges of habeas corpus, trial by jury, and a place where the crimes were committed, definition of treason, limiting punishment, guarantee of immunity and privileges of all states to the citizens of each state, no religious test before admission to public office, to which the Bill of Rights, where your power lies standing within law, that's my own insert, added right of peaceable assembly and petition to the government of redress of grievance, freedom of religion, speech, and press, right of the people to keep and bear arms, the militia, quartering of soldiers only as provided by law, protection against unreasonable searches, right of accused to indictment by grand jury with certain exceptions, no compulsory testimony against self, no deprivation of rights without due process of law, no confiscation of private property for public use without just compensation, right of a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury, right to demand information concerning the nature and cause of action, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, have assistance of counsel for defense, right of trial by jury in suits of common law where value and controversy shall exceed $20. Not jury trial versus jury trial versus U.S. versus Williams, Scalia brief, the grand jury above the Constitution. It's an example of the power of we the people have and the power that we can invoke. Protection and verdict of said jury. No excess bail required, no imposition of excessive fines, no infliction of cruel and unusual punishment. Rights retained by the people shall not be denied, nor disparaged. Power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it. To the states are reserved the states or to the people. Note the note here: the Bill of Rights is where your power lies, standing in law. So special attention. Please go back and read paragraphs 132 and 133 in your own time.
Now, I would make a correction here about the enumeration of constitutional rights. See, this is what we've all been led to believe, that, oh, well, the Bill of Rights is an enumeration of constitutional rights. All throughout history, rights have been declared or laid down the law through declarations. A declaration of rights, a Bill of Rights, is a declaration of rights. Now, I will cite from American Jurisprudence, Volume 16, Constitutional Law, Section 100. Bills of rights and those merely declaratory of the common law. That's right. So, the Bill of Rights of 1791, 1 through 8, were already the law prior to the Bill of Rights. And I will cite Hale versus Hinkle. Our rights are long antecedent to the formation of government. See, the common law is a real body of law that's that part of that unwritten law, lex non scripta. It's supposed to be self-evident. We're already supposed to know this stuff. This is that ignorance of the law is no excuse. This is the law that maxim of law refers to. Our rights as the law. And throughout history, bills of rights or declaration of rights was always done first. And then some sort of an instrument for the government, a charter or constitution, was done after the law was laid down or declared, because that's what declare means, lay down. So declarations, Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, says law, that which is laid down, ordained, or established. So when we lay down the law, we lay down the law through declarations. So in my mind, this was part of the trickery with what they did with the Constitution of 1787, 1789, and without a Bill of Rights in 1791. It's, if you do the research and the historical research of all of those enumerated rights in the Bill of Rights, most all of them go all the way back to the Magna Carta, 1215. It's already been the law, our rights, long before we thought of coming over here in 1603, establishing Jamestown, Virginia, with the first charter of Virginia in 1606. Long before then. Because this is where we go back to God's law, biblical, the laws of nature. That dictates. Rights dictate. Rights impose a duty. Where we have a right, there's a duty. So, and then it talks about remedy. Interestingly enough there, about the Constitution and being a remedy, going back to due process of law. Imagine that. Over to you.
So you're saying that because we did the Declaration of Independence first and not the Bill of Rights, there's a point of confusion within there?
No, the confusion is thinking that rights come from a constitution, and any kind of a Bill of Rights is just merely declaratory of the common law. It's already the law. We don't need a Bill of Rights. Those rights pre-exist the Bill of Rights. Those rights pre-exist any Bill of Rights.
Right, because if our rights were written, they would be there wouldn't be enough paper on the planet to write them
Yeah,
down.
that was what was stated in the convention, and the argument against the Bill of Rights was one, is that there was, James Madison here, that there was so many rights to try to enumerate them, it would be impossible to enumerate them all. And if we were to enumerate some, there are those corrupt deep stater tyrants who would construe it that that's the only rights that we have, which is why we ended up with the Article the Ninth. Some refer to these as amendments, and they are not. It is an amendment. If you read the actual original Bill of Rights, it says these are articles in addition to an amendment, not amendments. It is an amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. So this is why the 10th article specifically states what it says about this is part of the Constitution. So the argument that, oh, well, the Bill of Rights doesn't apply to the states except for by and through the 14th Amendment. One, these are already our rights, long antecedent to this Bill of Rights to begin with, and it's all just merely declaratory of the common law. But look at the 9th and the 10th. It's very clear that these are not to be construed as these are the only rights that are, that we have because they're enumerated here, that there are a plethora of other rights that are not enumerated here, and they are not to be denied or disparaged. Disparage is to make fun of somebody. So this is why we go into like Miller versus U.S. The claim and exercise of a right cannot be converted into a crime. Just because they say we don't have that right, if you know what your rights are and you claim it and you exercise it, and some public servant tries to dictate to us, the masters, what our rights are, they're in deep doo-doo, not us. And that's made very clear in Miller versus United States on appeal. So we have to get back to classification of rights. Are they natural rights from the laws of nature, fundamentally and principally? Like, do you have to hit your thumb with a hammer to know that it's going to hurt type common sense law here? We're already this is supposed to be self-evident, like the Declaration of Independence iterates. So, and then where we get into thinking that we have civil rights, that's the Roman civil law. It's garbage. So we have natural rights and we have political rights. That's it. And political rights would be more in line with the thought of constitutional rights, because those political rights come from the Constitution itself. Like the right to hold office. Well, I meet this qualification. That's a political right. So that's the separation of bodies of law, rights as the law, that I think we all need to learn and get back to the root of all law, the law of nature, God-given rights, such as freedom, free dominion, is from Genesis 1:26 through 28. In the beginning, God created, and then gave man, when he created man, dominion over the land, the air, and the water, L-A-W. And that is the origin of the word law. Law of the land, law of the air, and law of the water. And that law from God is that man has dominion. That's that free dominion. We are free to dominate any chunk of land we decide, and the animals thereof, right? The fowl of the air and the fish of the water. Totally separate from everything else because nothing else exists yet. So we have to go back to the fundamental principles and the law of creation, and we seek God's guidance on that law of creation because God is the creator. Man didn't create man. Man didn't create the land. Man didn't create the air. Man didn't create the water. Man didn't create the fish. Man didn't create the animals. Man didn't create the vegetation. So who did? And if man didn't create it, man can't can't dictate to another man what he can or can't do because he didn't create it. Logically, reasonably. Any man of sound mind should agree with that because that's logic and reason, fundamentally and principally.
And if not, it's subjugated.
If not, they're not of sound mind because that's your only two choices. You're either of sound mind, possessing logic and reason, and shall come to a reasonable conclusion based in reality, or you are insane. I don't play games. This is black and white. This is either good or it's evil. It's morally right or it's wrong. Morally wrong. There's no gray area here. There's no room for wiggling around the fact that a natural right comes naturally from nature, from God, fundamentally and principally. If you don't get it, you're not of sound mind. And we are to shun the insane. That's one of the 6 primitive laws of nature, to shun what may be harmful, to shun the insane.
That's awesome. Thanks, Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to lesson 9 continued. The relief. So just a few choices here. Relief from the encroachment upon the rights of the people will come when each citizen better learns the art of self-government and exercises his right of franchise.
That's a short one.
Yeah.
Is that restricted immigration?
No. Yeah, that's a good guess, though. I could see why. I could see that one. So,
go ahead and repeat that one again because I didn't.
You got it. That was a good one.
I didn't even hear it, technically speaking, because I was looking at some comments.
Yeah.
So go ahead and repeat that, if you would, please.
Sure, no problem. Relief from encroachment upon the rights of the people will come when each citizen better learns the art of self-government and exercises his right of franchise. So relief being the operative word. Yeah.
Yeah, that's direct responsibility to the people, right?
Yeah. Multiplicity of laws with the dangers of the representative government.
Okay.
And then one last one here for lesson 9. For a proper appreciation of our government, the citizen should know what the Constitution is and what it contains. The selection and combination of these elements was a master achievement of vision, ability, and governmental genius on the part of the delegates of the convention. So that was a quote from the author, Harry Atwood. It is in a sub-paragraph.
Yeah. I'm not seeing much of anything in there.
Knowledge concerning the Constitution.
Okay. Knowledge is power.
Yep. And thus safeguarding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And lesson 10, one of my personal favorite lessons, personal responsibility.
Now, I want to point out one thing here, this word. A lot of people, including myself, used to say accountable. I'm going to hold them accountable. No, it's responsible. Responsibility. That's the proper diction. Not accountable, responsible. Response able to respond. What is the response? What were the actions they took? Were they good or were they bad? Again, black and white.
Okay, here's the, let's see, I only have one excerpt from lesson 10, page 103. It is the duty of every citizen to obtain the best possible education. To shrink this responsibility is to be unworthy of the blessings of liberty and untrue to his own best interests. Every new device, discovery of science, enlarged market, added production, facility of communication and transportation carries with it a demand for an educated citizenry. Society, economics, local and foreign politics add their demands for educated leadership, and participation. Greater opportunities await the educated and fewer the uneducated with each passing year. It is the responsibility of every citizen to become fully informed, for through education is found the only sure means of perpetuating and the improving of our social structure.
Importance of active citizenship. Law and order, in my mind.
Which paragraph was that you were?
141.
Oh, okay.
Importance of active citizenship. You got to have the knowledge. You got to be paying attention, and that public service and law and order. Of course, you got to vote too.
So it's actually 136, but they do have the same vein as 141 within there. So 141, I do have one comment on it. So he first and paramount duty of every citizen is to have a firsthand knowledge of the Constitution of the United States, period. He should learn the accurate, comprehensive, and mastery statements of the 6 principles of government as contained in the preamble and the plan for setting up and maintaining our representative form of government. So definitely a consecration of 141 there within.
Yeah. Well, and like some of this, you're talking about under personal responsibility, so it's kind of all intertwined as a theme.
Yep. Self-education, yeah. Not necessarily indoctrination. You weren't taught all this, Kurt. You found it all out for yourself, right? All of your knowledge on that. You opened
Absolutely.
up a book.
A lot of reading, because reading means reading.
Okay, so all right. Here's the lesson 11, self-preservation. And let's see. So I do want to highlight paragraph 152. The attempt to undermine the nation from within is more serious than the threat of armed force from without. So this was definitely a cry out from 1928. And I'll read it 2 more times for prosperity's sake. The attempt to undermine the nation from within is more serious than the threat of armed force from without. I repeat one last time. The attempt to undermine the nation from within is more serious than the threat of armed force from without. So
that's Article 4, Section 4, internal or domestic violence, internal insurrection.
It takes more than eloquent speeches and hot words to accomplish sublime purpose. It takes risk. It takes sacrifice. It takes the spirit of Nation Hale, who, having been sent by the General Washington to bring intelligence concerning the British in New York City, he was captured within the British lines and executed as a spy by order of Sir William Howe, Howe, the British commander. His last words were, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. This is the spirit that won our liberties. It takes the same spirit to preserve our liberties." The mutual pledge of our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor, the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Absolutely.
The moral qualities essential to self-preservation are the will to win, the courage to endure, and the willingness to die. So, you could almost end the lessons here. There is some gleaming from chapter
What
12. Oh, what's that?
what's very beginning there, 145? What does that say?
Self-preservation, the first law of nature.
Huh. Say it isn't so.
Let me go to that real quick since you brought that up, Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Read it. Let's read and see what it says.
And I'd like to touch on that a little bit, because that's what I think our administration, or current, not the deep state, but the good guys, what's been happening since essentially 2015, before Trump got in there, and why the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. Why they're being so very adamant about the right to keep and bear arms that shall not be infringed comes from the law of nature. Because there may come a point in time here shortly that we may have to actually defend ourselves, given the foreign invasion that's currently ongoing, and has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah, this actually draws back to your very first question that you had for me, Kirk. So I'll go ahead and read 145 in its entirety. It's not long. Self-preservation, the first law of nature. Possessed at first with a slight intelligent man's reliance was upon his physical powers. Through brutal inequality, they were necessary for the preservation of life. By the successive steps of groups, tribes, and small states, mankind evolved better means of protection. Cultivated intelligence. That's an interesting word, cultivated intelligence. Cultivated intelligence. You don't need to be a farmer to know what that word means.
Right?
Cultivated intelligence. Developed habits. So what things are you doing that are preparing you for your future? Customs and laws, which in measure abridged the need of physical force. So just sit there on the couch and watch football. That'll help you prepare and protect your yeah, just sit there and wait for somebody else to take care of it yourself.
Oh, so somebody will take care of that.
Yeah. Oh. there may become a time that we have to protect our women and children and ourselves. You're absolutely right.
I mean, that gets into 146 and 147, preservation of life and property. I mean, that's again, we're talking about the law of nature here. It's one of the 6 primitive laws of nature. And why it's in the Declaration of Independence says, among these unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That one, the pursuit of happiness, gets shoved to the side, because that's your free dominion, your pursuit of happiness to go and do whatever makes you happy, as long as you do no harm. That's it. I mean, that's the basic fundamental principle at the root of all law, the law of nature. Go do what makes you happy and leave others alone. Don't cause any harm to any other man or to anybody's property, whether it's public property or private property. And we should be good. We should be left alone.
Here's an excerpt out of 46. The preservation of these rights is a dominant principle of the American philosophy of government. It limits that government in writing to certain definite powers, and the right is reserved to discharge any and all government servants who infringe upon the written will of the people. By the systems of government set up by our Constitution, people have been able to regulate the agencies of government and control and direct corporations, capital, and labor. Mighty as is their power, they must not infringe upon the rights of any private citizen. Neither must the individual citizen infringe upon the rights of another. Self-preservation for every citizen is guaranteed by the Constitution and guarded by the Supreme Court of the United States. In 1928, that last part.
Right.
So, definitely a publication to get the blood flowing and get the mind engaged with what you're supposed to be doing and the things that you should know, right? I would suggest that this could be potentially taught in a different platform at a younger age.
Oh, absolutely.
Than what was originally prescribed. So
you mean at home and at the church?
yeah. Yep. That's absolutely correct. So I kind of glaze over some of the stuff in here on the American flag. I do like paragraph 163. So the inspiration of the flag, they liken it to the cross. The flag is sacred, represents the living country, and is itself considered a living thing. It flies not only as the symbol of the organization and protection, or a symbol of organization and protection, it also calls to duty. To the flag of the United States and to all it represents, every citizen of America should render respect, reverence, and devotion. As you feel about your flag, so you feel about your nation. Your flag, my flag, our flag, may we honor her as she honors us.
Yep.
The next bit of the manual, the next section is actually goes into the Constitution, and the preamble is in there too. And definitely encourage you to read that and take note of what Harry Atwood says concerning that. I don't necessarily want to give my opinions on it. I want you to read it for yourself in your own time and consume it that way. And then you can get right into and then read the Constitution within there too. I will note in here that Harry Atwood was, I don't know for a fact, but he does not mention of the original 13th Amendment, and there can be some discussion on that. And obviously, but he was a lawyer, right? Did he know about it? I don't know. I've tried to do some research on whether or not he was privy to it or not. Regardless, this is a historical document, and there are tons of nuggets to glean from it. So here's just kind of a recap, and just kind of my thoughts on how you can deploy this in your own patriot groups or your own assembly groups. So there's 12 lessons here, and you can read through each of these in about an hour, and have the discussion like I mentioned before. Read through it, throw it up on the screen just like this, or print it out. This was copyrighted in 1928. Pretty sure the copyright is expired, so it's on archive.org. I think you can print up anything there. It's in the public purview. So I don't think the War Department, which doesn't exist, is going to come
Yeah.
to get their 15 cents that it that it took to print out that they wanted.
Yeah.
So I think you're all right
Well,
there. So
used under fair use at any rate.
yeah, right, fair use, exactly. So
It's in the
uh,
public domain,
get it out, get it out there. I
and this
encourage you to
is
read
definitely for educational purposes. So,
this is educational purpose, correct? So encourage you to read it together as a group. And my own experience in when my county came together and formed as a group, I first read it in a monthly meeting, several iterations since, but nonetheless, we voted to go through the manual together, and then the next meeting, the most amazing thing happened. That so as my occupation as a corporate instructor, my students are typically unwilling. But here at this time, when we came together to read this document, everyone was willing to go through this manual. And uh, I'm not a pastor. I do read the Bible, but the amazing thing happened, and the only word that I know in my vocabulary to describe what happened was koinonia, and I can't spell it. I just know how to pronounce it. But it's just a coming together in all one accord for all intents purposes. So as we went through this document together and read it and discussed it afterwards, it was just beautiful. Like, it was just beautiful. And I encourage you to go through it and dissect it and say, hey, these things aren't for now. And just how Kurt had identified, hey, there's things that aren't right in here. Go through it, find them out for yourself, but find out the good things in it too, and extract those out, and know that, have that knowledge, in embed it in your psyche or in your mind, right? So I do have one final uh, true story. So a woman. So it's good to close your eyes when you hear this story, to think about it. To, a woman paralyzed. This is a true story. A woman paralyzed from the neck down and unable to speak because of arsenic poisoning told the detectives through head movements and using magnetic letters to tell that her husband was to blame. After being confronted, the husband confessed to poisoning his wife. Over a period of weeks, he had said he'd laced her food and drinks with arsenic because he wanted to spend more time with her. He said he poisoned her so she'd be too ill to go to work and he could stay home and be with her, the police sergeant said. The husband, a prominent high school counselor, was charged with first-degree assault, an armed criminal action. The wife, a teacher, has been hospitalized since September 26th. Her husband said he began poisoning her in August. Doctors were unsure whether she will fully recover. She has, as best as someone that has been arsenic poisoned can be, i.e., severely impaired at this time. Police began investigating the wife's illness after doctors told them they suspected arsenic poisoning was the cause of her sickness. The police, when corroborating his story, found that the times the wife was home sick from work, the husband was out being unfaithful. Imagine that. The husband was convicted, and while serving his life sentence, this is no joke, hired an assassin to eliminate his wife unsuccessfully. You can't write a movie about this. This is true.
yes.
So why have I told you this story? We, the slumbered citizen, are the wife, going about our normal life, thinking that our de facto government has our best interests in mind in all decisions it makes. The cabal, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, is the husband, steps ahead of us, poisoning us with propaganda, fabricated distractions, mind control, empty promises of prosperity, and bald faced lies at times. Always ready with a new trick to pull over on us, ignorant chattel. Shall we wait and hope there's an opportunity on our deathbeds to point our perpetrator with head movements and magnetic letters, or do we head this derailment now with an education and civic engagement of assembling? I leave you at that. And thank you, Kirk. I appreciate the time to expound and give my presentation.
Thank you, Oscar, for your time and efforts putting this all together. That takes a little bit of time, quite a bit of time, yeah. Putting the PowerPoint and all that stuff together.
Yeah.
This was, some of that might have been copy and paste, but most of all that was hand done.
Yeah. Right? Everything was transposed and from the manual, and so if anybody would like the presentation in their own group, I can give it to you in about an hour, obviously with less questions, and we kind of plow through the presentation. You can reach me at my email is Joe, Joe, the number 6, Pack, PACK, at USA.com.
As long as that ain't a Bud Light 6-pack.
Just Joe, yeah, just Joe. Yeah, it's just a play on words from what's the guy? I forget his name right now. Man, his name has eluded me.
It's some sort of movie, wasn't it?
Shoot, there's three.
I think
there's several
going with
sections of movies on the National Assembly website. The guy that talked about how the government is over, or how the people are over the government, and the fourth and fifth branches of the government. They're kind of older videos.
Oh, Red Beckman.
The Red Beck. So it's a play on Red Beckman. Joe Sixpack is sitting around, not doing anything. That's that, I think Susie Secretary and Joe Sixpack is the vernacular that he used. So just to play on that. Hey, look, Joe Sixpack's actually engaged in doing something. So I definitely was Joe Sixpack by definition. So it takes that engagement. But yeah. So I can do about an hour presentation. Is about the shortest that I can get this through.
Yeah.
This was, I think, 2.5 hours. This was the full Monty. So it's the first time in a long time that I've been able to unleash this. So I wrote this back around Christmas break this past year. Just knew that it needed to get done and get the information out there about this manual. So I give it for free. Any contributions given go to my county assembly to be able to support websites or anything that costs money that we have to do. So just know that. I can don't really have a way. I have let's see, I can give an address if people want to send money, but it's not really the intent and the importance of getting the information out. So pay it forward. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. And people could email you, right?
Yeah, they sure can. Let me type it. I'll type my email in the chat. That might be
Joe Sixpack at USA.com.
Yep. Joe, the number 6.
The number 6.
PACK Not PAC, political action.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks Kirk for giving me some inputs on this, ahead of time too.
Hmm.
And I look forward to a project where we can kind of potentially work together on this. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but I think getting the elders together and coming up with some corrections from this manual would definitely I think be beneficial, a beneficial project.
Yeah, I think so too. Give it a presentation,
We'll bring it forward
represented.
from 1928.
Yeah. Let's take a little bit deeper dive in history and get down to some roots of real law, which right there in the end, it's right there, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I glazed over. I didn't even put it in my presentation, and you've highlighted, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back and make sure that that's in there now. So I
Yep.
think I've had about 6 versions of this so far. So yeah, it gets better
Practice
every
makes
time.
perfect, right?
Yeah, that's right. Indeed. Any questions out there that anybody's?
Lots of thank yous for both of us, and yeah. Did anybody learn anything today? Anybody? Maybe.
Bueller?
It takes a little bit for it to get out there to them.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a time delay between us speaking it and actually for them to hear it. Oh, I'm starting to get tired sitting
I
here.
wore you out, Kurt.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been busy, 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 busy for me.
Yeah.
Trying to dodge the weather and basically got to get up early, get out there, get some stuff done, and then the storm comes in.
Yeah. Jeez.
Didn't get to mow the lawn today because, well, it was raining this morning.
We could definitely use some of that rain here. I think I've been watering twice a day on most everything.
Wow.
The garlic's pretty good though. That's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one thing that the deer don't eat.
All right. Well, we're gonna call it a night here, I think, and thank you all for being here. Thank for being here, being that we kind of had a serious technical difficulty there, and I still got to try and figure out how to get it to work on Facebook again. But that's a broadcasting software that decided not to work anymore. I don't know. It lost its connection to Facebook. It doesn't want to reconnect, so I just decided to try it without the Facebook, and it went. So we made it. I wish I would have just tried that earlier, but sat around for an hour and a half dinking around with it trying to get it to work. So, but yeah, thank you all for those that did make it, even though we didn't make it on time, which probably missed out on quite a few people. But it can definitely be rewatched on Rumble and YouTube. And then what I'll do is I'll share the Rumble link on Telegram after it gets done compiling and doing its thing. So again, thanks to Oscar over there for his expertise and time and everything that you took to put that together. Greatly appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, brother.
You bet. We
We'll
will
do it again.
definitely need to be talking and figuring some stuff out to put some of this other stuff together that I've wanted to do for a while in that kind of format there,
Yeah.
in a
Yep.
PowerPoint presentation. So,
Yep.
um,
I certainly
question,
hope.
Walter Douglas, which I actually sent you a message reply on YouTube there, Walter, to send me an email. Kirk at kirkslawcorner.com if you want to send me an email. We can connect that way. But does the military use statutes and codes? Well, first of all, your question is that statutes and codes are two different things. Codes are shit made up by the bar from the Roman civil law from the Roman Catholic Church. It's a whole different ideology. Technically speaking, the only thing we really have left is statutes at large, which is supposed to be the real statutes. But yes, that's primarily what they go off of, other than the Law of War Manual, the Manual for Courts Martial, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Those are actually the three main ones that the military does use. Which, by the way, was all updated in 2016. So, some of it was done in 2015 and edited again in 2016. So, yeah, that whole amendments to that stuff was done for the purposes of what's going on right now and has been going on since Trump took office. So, but even for Oscar and myself, for in the Marine Corps, we're bound to support the Constitution, support and defend this nation called America from foreign and domestic enemies.
Right. Yeah, and I've started to do a deep dive on oaths. That research is still in work, and but I'm uncovering some interesting things along the way.
Yeah.
My oath was never debriefed. They never said, okay, here's your unbriefing or unoath. I don't even know
Sure they did.
what does.
It's called a DD 214. You've been discharged from duty.
Yeah. Sure.
So, but we can never be discharged from the duty of a patriot and being part of the militia and defending this nation, right? Because that's the right of the people to do that. Because the people can't delegate a power that we do not possess ourselves first. So there's no way to create the well-regulated militia, which is the federal and state military, which the military is subordinate to the civil power. A lot of people miss that one. But we're technically speaking never really officially, as a man, able-bodied male between the age of 18 to 64, we're never relieved from that duty to defend America.
What's the civil authority, Kirk?
Oh, that would be, I don't know, the people having all political power, but really stems from the merchant marines started back in 1553. But it's the people. That's why the Second Amendment reads the way it reads, is that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Because if you go back to the Articles of Confederation and the Virginia Declaration of Rights, that the militia is composed of the body of the people. Can't get it any more clear than that. And that's not regulated by government, right? Because they're the servants, we're the masters. Servants do not dictate to their masters. They discharge the duties of that office that we, the people, create. Okay? So, again, I've been saying this for years, but, the good old food, water, and guns and ammo, whatever you need there to help defend yourself. Case of any kind of real state of emergency, any kind of a real natural catastrophe where it causes catastrophic damage to property and infrastructure, like takes out power, or takes out water lines, or takes out our sewage, plumbing, that kind of stuff. Takes out any kind of bridges or roads or any kind of fire or flood. Those are natural catastrophes. Otherwise, a real state of emergency is from enemy attack, whether foreign or domestic, internal. Other than that, the rest of it's BS, stuff made up. And I think we need to return to these basic fundamental principles. Plain and simple.
Here, here. I second that.
All right. All right, brothers and sisters out there, God bless. Thank you all for your likes, your follows, your shares, and had a great time with Oscar tonight. Even though it got off to a pretty bumpy start, we were still rocked it. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you all for being here. Much love, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and see you on Monday for Monday Night Law.